Hi, my name is Jacob Duke, and today I'm going to tell you why the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy is actually superior to the Hobbit movie trilogy. Now, the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are a series of books produced by well-known author J.R.R. Tolkien. The Hobbit was published on September 21st of 1937, while the trilogy was published between July of 1954 and October of 1955. As of 2012, the New American website puts that The Hobbit has sold over 100 million copies. It's a sequel book and first of the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring has sold 150 million copies. Tolkien introduced a magical and fantastic place to the world the day he penned The Hobbit. And back in December of 2001, director Peter Jackson brought to life Middle-earth on the big screen when he produced the first of three movies based on the trilogy, and continued the vision by releasing a trilogy based on the Hobbit book beginning in December of 2012. Now, in my opinion, the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy is better than the Hobbit trilogy. I would like to direct your attention now to the viewers' opinions. Now, according to IMDb.com, the leader of comprehensive movie information, the Hobbit trilogy has an average of 7.9 out of 10 in user reviews. Now, 1 represents being the worst movie it could possibly be, 10 meaning the best or the highest. On the same rating scale, the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy has an average user rating of 8.8 out of 10. The difference is not huge, mind you, but it does relay that there was something that one trilogy had that the other did not. IMDb ratings relay common moviegoers' opinions, so now let's take a look at the opinion of the movie makers themselves. Both trilogies made their way into the Oscar nomination pool, but only one trilogy performed to winning standards. The Academy Awards database online shows that The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, which is the first movie in the Hobbit trilogy, received 3 nominations but no Oscars. Its sequel, The Desolation of Smaug, also received 3 nominations, but again brought a goose egg to the table in the Oscars. Finally, the third and final installment of the Hobbit trilogy, The Battle of Five Armies, received only 1 nomination and again failed to secure any Oscar. Excuse me. This was not the case in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The first installment of The Fellowship of the Ring received 13 nominations and won 4 Oscars. The second installment, The Two Towers, received 6 nominations and won 2 Oscars. Now, the third and final installment, The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, received 11 nominations and won 11 Oscars. And it's worth noting that every single category that Return of the King was in at the Oscars that year won that category. So nobody was able to beat them out. So the stats are starting to tip towards this on the scale towards the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now it's time for my own opinion. Okay, I truly enjoyed both trilogies. I love the Middle-earth that Tolkien imagined, and its cinematic adaptations were beautiful and paid great respect to Tolkien. They both displayed all the elements that make a movie good. There was action, there was suspense, there was romance, there was drama, there was comedy. However, the first trilogy had some elements that made it stand out far more than its successor. By first trilogy, again, I mean the Lord of the Rings trilogy. First and foremost, the original trilogy relied a lot on makeup and practical effects for special effects. Now, granted, in a world of wizards, magic, and monsters, there's going to have to be some movie magic, but you can use too much. The original trilogy utilized a great deal of makeup and prosthetics to transform actors and stuntmen into dwarves, orcs, hobbits, etc. Most of the battle scenes of the original trilogy were comprised of dozens of flesh and blood actors decked out head to toe in makeup and costume. In The Hobbit, the battle scenes were mainly developed with CGI orcs and dwarves, all zeros and ones. No actors. Even the main antagonists in the movie were CGI characters created using motion capture technology. I found this disappointing, since one of the major components of bringing Middle-earth to life for me was how real the creatures and monsters looked, and due to the skill of the makeup artists. Another reason for my favoritism of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is there's a trilogy's worth of information and source material to make the trilogy. Each movie corresponded with its respective book. 3 books, 3 movies. Like any cinematic adaptation of a movie, there's going to have to be things added and some things omitted for the sake of the story. However, it didn't feel like a stretch. The Hobbit trilogy, on the other hand, had one major piece of source material to draw from. Now, look at the Hobbit book. It's actually the smallest of any Middle-earth related literature produced by Tolkien. 1 or maybe 2 movies would have adequately portrayed the quest of Bilbo Baggins, Gandalf the Grey, and the dwarves' journey to the Lonely Mountain. Instead, they drew material from other Tolkien literature that didn't fit into the story and fused with The Hobbit so they could stretch it out into 3 movies. It left me questioning if they were actually just wanting to tell the story or if they actually want to make the money. I mean, the elements didn't seem like they fit very well. He actually spent a lot more time on the made up and the added material that actually did on the source material of The Hobbit. Now, my final issue I want to voice is an issue I've seen in other movies where the sequel story was told first and then the prequel. I felt like they tried to tie the two trilogies together way too much. They overemphasized characters that were in the first trilogy far too much and too long, and even changed the source material to include a character from the Lord of the Rings trilogy that wasn't in The Hobbit, and his name is Legolas. He was a member of the Fellowship of the Ring. There were also many references to characters we would meet in the Fellowship of the Ring, some offhanded, others were very cringeworthy. I appreciate a fluid story, and I like establishing a cinematic universe. Marvel does a great job of that. They didn't really do a good job with that here in The Hobbit. I do not like being the blatant disregard and almost fear of the original source material for The Hobbit. I feel like the writers didn't believe that The Hobbit could actually stand on its own despite the book's popularity. It was really disappointing. At the end of the day, I enjoyed both trilogies. They both have flaws. For example, I think the first half of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, is excruciatingly boring. They also strayed from the source material too in that movie. However, at the end of the day, I feel like the Lord of the Rings trilogy was better written and better produced than the Hobbit trilogy.